Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I'm Sarah Gonnella. I am partner and VP of Marketing and Sales for Full Sail Partners. And I'm so glad you're here. We have an incredible conversation lined up today about how one AEC firm, Bergmeyer, took on a big tech change and made it stick by putting their people first. But before we dive in, I'd like to chat with you, our audience, and let's get the chat warmed up. We do have a question for you. So we just simply want to know, what is the city and state, or maybe even the time zone that you are coming from in the comments? For those that don't know, I'm actually in the Atlanta area. So I'm in the metro Atlanta area. And then we can also ask our guest as they come on. But just want to see if there are other people out there and just know where it is that you are coming from. So I'd like to go ahead and bring our guest and go ahead and add those comments in here. So let me bring Bill up. Good afternoon, Bill.
Hey, Sarah.
How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's beautiful here in Boston. We're a little bit cooler than we've been the last couple of weeks. So I've been enjoying my bike commutes in, and it's been a good day.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you today. And just to do an official introduction, Bill Spaulding, he is the director of education at Bergmeyer. And yep, you heard that correct. He is the director of education, which is not something we often see in the AEC industry. But trust me, after today, you'll wish your firm had one too. So officially welcome, Bill.
Thank you. And I just want to say, Boston, I grew up just a little bit north of here, like 5 miles. So you will hear a different accent as I explain some things and share what I know.
I love that. I love that. Well, we do have some other people here as well. So we have Paul coming in from Raleigh. We have Stacy just saying, hello as well. And let's see who else we have. We have Chicago coming in with Katrina. We have another Paul with San Jose. Looks like Stacy is coming in from Richmond. We have some staff members coming as well from Wisconsin and Baton Rouge. And so I'm trying to get that one pulled up. And give me just a second. My mouse is not cooperating. And so we have Amanda with that is coming in from Baton Rouge. So let me pull that one, previous one off real quick. There we go. And so thank you guys for letting us know where you're coming from. Continue to add those in. Lily's also saying, woohoo, hi, Bill. So you already have a fan. We have Gabe coming in from Elk Grove, California as well. So continue to let us know where you're coming from. And so, Bill, I want to start a little bit different today than we normally do. And so I want to start with the mindset. Big changes don't always happen without the right cultural foundation. And what I would like to know from you is, what made this shift possible at Bergmeyer? I think that this is an important aspect to the story.
Well, I think we all learned to be somewhat agile in 2020, March specifically. And we have teams that different market sectors we're in, right? So retail, design, food and beverage, academics. So we have wellness, we have all these different markets and with their market leaders, and they're all so busy and focused on their work. So how do we implement like something simple, like a change in technology or a different tool? I think that's, it's always different depending on the tool and whether it's going to work just quickly in small increments or it's going to be a big change. So the scaling side of it. But working with Deltek Vision previously, which we had a lot of issues with, it really didn't seem to sit well. It was more of an accounting financing tool. That's how we approached it. I think moving to Vantage Point, knowing that it's like, well, how do we lessen the burden? So I think that's the approach. Hey, hello, project manager. We have some tools that we want to show you. Would your team have time or be available? Because we start small. We want to work with one team specifically, small successes, work on those, get the feedback back and forth, work out some of the kinks, and then release it to the whole firm. So I think that's been our approach for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah, was that what you were looking for as like a mindset as far as like how we're implementing the change?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that mindset is important. You mentioned a couple of important things in there as far as when you're looking at technology, are you going to do multiple changes along the way? Or are you going to sort of rip off the Band-Aid and like it
Yeah.
makes more sense to do everything at once? And I'm just curious, the fact that you are director of education, that in itself is different. And so that ends up sort of indicating that your firm already has a little bit of a different perspective just
Yes.
on how it is that you educate. So I would love it for you to go in maybe even a little bit further on why it is executives really have focused on that commitment to improvement and educating your staff.
Well, this is our 50th year, so Bergmeyer's been around since mid 70s. We, our founder Maury Bergmeyer, really pushed the new technology. How do we adopt it? How do we stay on the leading edge, not the bleeding edge? So that's always been part of our culture. I think thinking about how we've transitioned leadership over the years. For the last 30 years, we've had the same IT manager, now director of IT, and Ken Hogan is amazing at what he does. He's open-minded, but also a skeptic. So it's wonderful having that mix where he's like attending these roundtables, coming back with new tools. Can they work for us? But you mentioned something that's really important. Senior leadership, executive level, are we getting that buy-in? So part of my job is to not sell it, not convince them, but show them the why and the how. So if you really want to make a difference, I think it boils down to, here's a great tool, but do we need it? What's it going to help us do? So if you can, and it's not just about ROI, it's really a process change could have a downfall. It could be a morale bust. It could be a lot of things that's going on depending. So there's something that I've always listened to, and it's like the pulse. So when we were like 65, 70 people, and my role morphed from being a project architect, I am a registered architect, so I can walk and speak the language, morphing to a manager of education and training, helping us move from, this was a big shift, moving from 2D drafting in CAD to Revit. So that was my first big job. In fact, I went back to school for a master's in education to learn how to learn. And that really helped me a lot, because during that program, I used my capstone as an architectural firm moving from a 2D CAD platform to a 3D BIM, building information model tool that changes the process completely. Talk about resistance. We can talk about that later. But it's like thinking about how to be successful. It still starts with the small pieces. Like, how do you have small successes? And it was something I learned reading a book, Dorothy Leonard Barton. It's called Deep Smarts. And one of those chapters is all about get the small little successes first. And that book was introduced to me by Chris Parsons from Knowledge Architecture. So it's like it all loops back in, and I'm sure we'll talk about our intranet platform at some point. But thinking about how and why. If you just try one of those, it really doesn't work. But I think the magic is in getting both of those to work, to sell it to upper management, senior leaders, but then pulling it down to the project management and team level, where it's like, how do you get that energy, that positive energy going? And that's something that luckily it's not that it comes easy, but I've just always found the right person that would be the champion. So it's just not always me. It can't just be me. Yeah.
I think that's a great point. And a lot of times people try to approach change as the person that is leading the charge. Maybe you can also talk, because I think this is the biggest challenge that I tend to find firms have, is that it's embracing or getting others involved to help shape that process. So is there any insight that you can give to people on how they can really bring further people? You mentioned one that it was an accounting system and it was the mind shift of looking at it differently, but still even beyond that, how else can you really bring people in? And I know the how and the why, but how do you make it relevant to them and get them a part of the process?
Well, luckily, I'm also part of our orientation program. So when people are new to Bergmeyer, I get a chance. I'm in the recruitment orientation whole process there. So it's really nice, whether they're very junior, their first job out of design school, architecture school, graphic, whatever it might be, admin side. I get to build this like relationship with them. Sometimes it's one-on-one, sometimes it's a group, depending on how many people we're hiring. So during that time, it's always those questions and building that relationship, which starts to initiate trust. I think that becomes a bigger momentum. Well, maybe one of the most important factors is that trust side. But staying on topic, I think finding that champion that has some passion for it. So sometimes you notice the most frustrated person and you pull them aside. It's like, what's going on? Let's go for a walk. Let's get some coffee. Let's get outside and chat. And you find out it's like, oh, I'm trying to do this and it's keeping me from doing that. It's like, oh, wait a minute. That sounds like a great thing to explore. Yeah. Let's work with Steph Alves, our digital practice manager, another like position we kind of made up that we need as a support role. So Steph would sit down with me and this person, and we would sit down and say, hey, I think you got something going here. Let's see. Don't do it alone. So I guess what it boils down to is don't do it alone. Don't think that you have to do this alone. I like to come in and help support. And I think with that, there's some like strong, I did this empowerment going on that it's like, wow. And that person, whether a junior level, mid-level, senior level, they're like, I got this, but I don't want to teach this. I don't want to be that person. It's like, oh, we can cover that, but we want to give you props along the way. It's like, you discovered this connection that made this work. And I think those little connections, those little celebrations, win you teammates, win the trust, build momentum. So within there, there's some magic that has come together well for us.
Yeah. And it sounds like you play a particular part in all of that as well. And then you have other people that play their part as well. So having someone as director of education really sets the tone that we're going to be focused on improvement. And so that really speaks to maybe the culture that you have built or that the company has built.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of help. Jumping back to Maury Bergmeyer, when he came in one day in 1988 and said, hey, I'm moving out to Jackson Hole and I'm going to either close the firm or the architects, you senior people here can buy it. So David Tuberty, who just recently passed away, was our president and leader for like 30 years and was amazing at helping to build that culture. It was like an inclusive, everyone has a voice, no question is, like the very basic parts of what you would think, but then like developing guiding principles. It's like, what's different about Bergmeyer? Maybe some of the most important things, it's like, we're super serious about our work and we're competitive, but our egos aren't clashing with each other. And we have this ability to laugh at ourselves and at each other, but get serious about our work. So it's like an interesting way to play and be in an environment where it's like, hey, this really works. I enjoy coming to work. And this collaborative process that we're in, where it's just not me doing it, it's a team pulling everything together and finding the best way forward. I think that culture of not no ego, but our ego is being competitive with other firms, not with each other. So it's real interesting, and it's best shown in our Fall, we're hitting it now. In fact, there's a meeting going on in the other room. If you've ever heard of the IIDA New England Fashion Show, look it up. We are insane when we get into this mode where we are ripping materials and shredding things and gluing them and stapling them back together and putting a fashion show on, usually the end of October. But it's such an amazing effort that you see the best of Bergmeyer in our culture in that environment. It's silly, it's fun, but it's crazy work and crazy competitive. So I don't know, somewhere in there is like, again, there's some magic that it's so hard to explain culture. And I think I've tried to do this to candidates that want to work at Bergmeyer. And it's like, it's so hard to sum up. We could say, oh, we have a great culture. But it's not until you're here for a while do you start to understand it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of culture, I do want to check in with everyone that is watching. So we do have a question for you. Would you say that your firm embraces change or avoids it like the plague? And maybe drop in an emoji. So green being bring it on, maybe hearts or things like that in the different colors, or just type in bring it on, or depends who's leading it as yellow, and then change, never heard of her, in red. So let us know what you think and how you embrace change. I find different people some people really love change and other people avoid it like the plague. And so I'm curious from you, Bill, as people are filling that out, did you face resistance? I noticed in the first part you mentioned that, and I want to know, how did you work through that within the culture, culturally?
It's never the same approach. I have to say, through change, there's growth. And I think if that's the message, that we grow through change. I want to back up a little bit because it's a lot of people associate change with we're changing it because what's working right now is not working. And I don't think that's always the case. And we want to push it more towards, and maybe it's just a more positive way to think about it, but process improvement.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking it's like, and this is like my goal in life, I mean, it's like process improvement. I don't know for those parents out there, but oh my gosh, being a parent, it's like, nope, we're learning every day how this is working. Yeah. So now having like teenagers, it's just like, you really understand. It's like, wow, we really went with the flow. So that process improvement back to the workplace, how does change help us win new projects, attract new employees, retain current employees? So that whole idea that you're learning, it's not that we're changing something that's working, we're improving the process, which will just be evolve. So I think the word evolve comes in a lot too. It's like, well, here's what's changed with our client. Our client now has change management. They're working with different prototypes in the retail side, let's just say, and we want to service them. Like, so how do we have to ask questions. We have to change our process internally to adapt to what we're giving. So sometimes it's reactive and sometimes it's proactive. I love it when it's proactive because we can get in there and say, hey, this is what we see another firm doing. This is what I learned at this conference. Here's what Full Sail has taught me during these sessions. It's like, well, how do we take the pieces of it and turn it into a Bergmeyer solution? So we know that when we learn stuff outside externally, that it doesn't always like fit for us. So we have to like take a smaller team and test it, get some feedback. So it's a process. It's not like, here you go, start working, go. It's like, nope, let's take this project. How is your project? Is it on budget? Do you have a couple of extra days over the next 2 weeks to go through and learn this? Who on your team has shown an urgency for some of the tasks that seem to slow them down? Like, how do I identify that? So sometimes it's identifying the pain points, and we've done that in many ways across Bergmeyer through bigger events and very small events. But one part that is consistent, it's you can't give up. You have to keep working at it, and you have to show like that light at the end of the tunnel. You really have to put those pieces and say, hey, we're not going to jump from A all the way to Z. It's going to be a lot of steps in between. And when we get to a milestone in completion towards the final, we want to celebrate that and share that to show across the firm how the success has helped this team do something differently, whether it's in accounting or in our graphics team or IT, whatever it might be. So I think, oh my gosh, Sarah, there's so much more I could go into, but I think that kind of sums it up, where it's like, it's not a big jump. It's a lot of little steps, finding the right people at the right time. So it goes back to that pulse.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this? Make sure there's buy-in.
Yeah. And I have an impromptu question for the audience, and then also for you. Thinking about celebrating small milestones or things, I'm curious what the most creative celebration is that people have done, or things that maybe just seem silly, or like it was just fun, something that you did. And I was curious, from you, Bill, is there any little thing, or even if it was a big thing, whatever, but something that stood out in that celebration of a milestone?
Wow. So there's a few that come to mind. Some I probably shouldn't share, but
no, we want those. Come on.
Well, we do a lot of food and beverage. So we have this, every other month, we have what's called a blitz. So it's an all office charrette, and it's put on by a few people in the office, some senior, very talented designers, and some of our communications team. And it's a different topic. So when there's a win or there's a success, sometimes those design charrettes are built around that. So having your success put up to there at that level is a really cool way in a acknowledgement side of it. So if there's one success about acknowledgement, that's great. So one I'm thinking about specifically is food and beverage. We do a lot of distilleries and bars and tap rooms. So we had one where we had a guest celebrity restaurateur come in and judge. So each team broke up into separate, like, pick a name out of a hat, you're on that team. And we had a leader, and we had to make our own drink with all the ingredients. And everybody was running back and forth for like 15, 20 minutes, like get their ingredients, put it in there too. And then you had to present the drink and then share that. And then there was a prize and a win thing. So this is another way to celebrate. Like, this food and beverage team is like knocking it out of the park. The amount of work that we have coming in, the products, the design, it's so cool. So having that type of a celebration where it includes the whole firm, but then in there's a competition because we're super competitive. And then it goes to like, oh, who's the winner? Who made the best, craziest drink? And then it's like tested and awarded by like a celebrity local restaurateur. So it's like that's taking it to another whole level, which is what we do a lot.
I love it. Well, I'd love to hear from the audience too, if you have done any cool celebrations that you have just celebrated little milestones along the way. For me, it's even like little things like having, I've heard clients do like cupcakes, or there was one client that they actually, at the end of the project, they took everybody to Disneyland, like wow. Things like that. Like, that's pretty big. But even just the small things can be great.
Sometimes it is just a nice note on the desk with a gift card for one of our local places. Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the journey itself. What were the phases of the implementation, and where did Full Sail Partners fit into that?
I'm glad we're getting to this, because this was, so in the past, working with Deltec Vision, we were unsuccessful at implementing it at a full range of, possibilities, hubs. Let's just call them hubs, because they are. So we're like, okay, we're struggling a little bit. And then Bergmeyer went through a lot of change in the last couple of years, like a lot of firms have. And we hired our first CFO, which we're really excited about. So Chris McCourt, working with me, working with our director of IT and our management, like, okay, well, where can we go with this? So looking at different consultants, we really liked what Full Sail had to offer, and putting together not just like, hey, can you come in and figure out what we're doing? It was more like, no, let's get a plan together. So I think strategically, Full Sail was great at the very beginning to say, wait a minute, it's not just like, let's fix this accounting stuff and finance and let's do some dash parts. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you could come in and do that, but we needed more. And I think Full Sail realized that. They realized how, I don't know. So let me back up one or two more steps too, because our accountant, who was really our champion in the office for Deltec Vision, left after 13 or 15 years. So it was like a lot of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So again, our awesome IT director, Ken, jumped in to help out, to figure out what was going on, working with a few other people. But that wasn't like the reason for our success. That was like the digging part. It's like, think like a crazy badger going in and digging. What can we find? What can we do? What can we get in there? So if there is a spirit animal, it's like, it's been talked about before. It's like that honey badger is like relentless. So finding out where is it broken, what's not working. And Full Sail was really good at not telling us what we're doing wrong, but identifying things that we could be doing that we're not. So there's such a difference in the mindset that's okay. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. We're using like 10% of our brain. But our database was a little bit messy, like most are. So the CRM side, like, how do we do that first? And then Amanda came out of like a dream and just like sat down with her team and just led these sessions. And I want to say there were like every Thursday morning from like 8 to 10 or 9. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is way too long early in the morning. It's not going to work. And then I sat in the first session. I'm like, this is going to work. Like 10 minutes in, I'm like, this is going to work. So my job was to help facilitate it, take notes, make sure people were attending, but observing what's going on in the room. Who's asking questions? What's going on? And right away, one of our amazing project managers, Leah, rose up and was asking like difficult questions and like really getting frustrated and like, why aren't we doing this? And I think that was the part I'm like, okay, we got it. We're in there. And then the team led us, the Full Sail team led us through agonizing sessions of like, how do we break down and fix? And it was like, no, we got to go deeper. No, we got to go deeper. Wait a minute, it's way down here. And when working with Chris, our CFO, and Ken, who was in the background creating and adjusting fields and workflows as we were going along. And it was really cool. And we recorded those and we did summaries. And it was really nice to have that consistency week after week, because Amanda gave us homework like every week. And it was different homework, different times, but it really helped us question how we were not just using Deltec Vantage Point now, but how we were missing some of the reasons, getting back to the why and how. It's like, well, here's how you do it. No, but it's like, why are we doing it this way and not this way? And the Full Sail team was really good in a very sensitive way at pointing out why we should be doing it a different way. And it's weird. I still hear Amanda's voice as I'm like building some fields and doing stuff now, because I've learned through the process of how to go in there. And I think during that time, and I want to say over that 3 months, we started midsummer after we created that plan, and then started with the sessions. And then it went from the CRM, which helped us in the accounting and finance and marketing, and we kept going to, okay, well, now let's start working on resource planning. And we started to work with Matt, who's a former CFO, which they were talking, and figuring out their dash parts and building things. And so that's how it all went. In the meantime, I was helping Ken, our IT director, build the training. Like, how is this going to happen internally? Yeah. So we were building it based on a formula where it's like, 15 minutes of information and then 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A. And we would have these half-hour sessions. Whenever we need to, we're recording them. We're putting them up on our intranet. In our intranet, we use Knowledge Architecture has this amazing platform, Synthesis. And Synthesis 6 is its own coded amazing, like how to add videos easy, and there's so much more going on, transcribing them, building pages. So we have all of our help and how to work created from those videos from the training sessions. So there was a lot of timeline that I just skipped over, but it started in the summertime last year and went into the fall. We reevaluated, got a lot of feedback from those who were using it, and just kept going. So something magical happened in the spring, but I don't know if we want to start talking about that again or that yet, but let me know what you think.
Yeah, a lot of juicy things in there.
Yeah,
And so
that was a lot.
no, it was great. And so one of the things that I think is important is at the beginning, you mentioned this, that you did what we call as a navigational analysis.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you really started with that. And what that did is it established where you guys are at. Then it also established where you wanted to be. And then it also, as you identified, it identified some specific things that you might consider in there. So starting with that navigational analysis first, and really understanding and setting the stage of where things are at, and then also from a team perspective, understanding what other people's desires are. Maybe can you talk a little bit more about how it is that people expressed their thoughts? Were there any interesting things that were revealed, like I didn't even know we were doing it that way, or things like that that were sort of revealing through that process?
Wow, there's a lot to consider, and I think at the time, like our marketing team, meaning one person, was really digging deep. In fact, both of us went to ProjectCon. It was our first adventure into that world, meaning Deltek's ProjectCon down in DC last fall. And that opened our eyes to a lot. So I want to like separate that experience. All right. So thinking about the people that were involved in a lot of the aha moments, and let's go back to Leah. So Leah is also not just a project manager working with a hospitality team and doing tons of work across a lot of markets. She was also involved in staffing. So like she took a different lens to it. It's like, okay, well, I'm a project manager and I need to get this information. And one of the aha moments was creating, and I don't want to go too deep into the technology side of it, but when we figured out from the project hub and going in and creating all these fields, but Leah has like 7 projects for one client going on at the same time. And then setting that to list view and setting a filter with just what she needs was like mind blowing. I think these were one of those moments that was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we can do this. This is okay. What it's doing, sorry, that was kind of loud, wasn't it?
No.
Reducing like the burden of management, reducing that burden of like, oh, I have to go into Vantage Point and I have to click on this, and then I have to go to each project and do the same thing 8 times or 7 times. So that was such a breakthrough that we were all just walking out of that session like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to show this to everybody. So I think that started to happen, and it started to happen with 2 or 3 people, then that became 5 or 6 people, and then it started to spread. And then when we had the training, people were very eager to see how that worked. And now that we have created different filters and views depending on what the task is. For example, building off of this, I had deeper like goals than just learning Vantage Point and have Full Sail help us. We really had to revamp our project kickoff and project closeout process. So I don't know if we want to get into that just yet, but inside of that, it involves our practice committee, upper management, feedback along the way from different teams. Different teams meaning we have projects that might last 2 or 3 years versus some of our retail enterprise clients that might have 17 Lululemon stores in the next 3 months, or some of our other clients that we're working with. So
Yeah.
I don't know, where would you like me to go at focusing in there?
Yeah. I would like to pull up one thing that I did notice from Amanda. She said Leah was a natural champion with the lens of variety, and she grasped it and naturally helped others appreciate it too. What do you think about that?
Leah, what's great about Leah is also what's not great about Leah is she is so like blunt and to the point. So it's great because you can just ask her something and she's like, nope, that won't work. And you're like, okay, what about this? And she's like, yep, that will work. Let's do it. And it's like, let's dig in. And she is that digger. She is definitely like, okay, this is working. This isn't working. And I'm taking notes and Amanda's figuring it out. And we're trying to keep going. And little by little, it's like, oh, so I think on one end of it, Amanda and her team were so good at like observing and listening.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times there was like this, not awkward pause, but there was a longer pause than you would expect during a training session. And you can see the wheels cranking. And then Amanda would be like, hey, let's try this. Leah, share your screen. And we would go through something and would be like, yep, that's how to fix it. So I think that's not always the case with consultants.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that's such a separator when you have someone that starts to feel like, wow, we're just like gelling like a team and we can talk to each other very frankly. I think, and Leah, like I said, there's great things about how she operates. And that's why I was so glad when she put her hand up to be part of it, because she might have been the most frustrated. Yeah. And that's, again, back to what I was talking about earlier. It's like, it's not just noticing those people who are all happy and like they're doing their work and it's like, who's like really frustrated? Where are the pain points? Pull them into it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, we're going through our own Vision to Vantage Point upgrade ourselves, and I know. And so I also
need help. You can hire us to help you.
No, we should. You know. So Amanda and Raina are actually the people that are our consultants taking us through it as well. I'm also curious for our audience, what kind of tech rollouts has your firm tackled recently? Whether it's CRM, ERP, intranet, just drop that in the chat. I want to make sure that we're getting more interactive with people as well. So we want to understand the things that you guys are going through. Now, Bill, for you, what would you say to other firms who feel that they don't have time to take that phased approach that you talked about? What advice would you give them?
Don't put a practitioner in charge of facilitating it. Don't put someone who is juggling work and trying to do this as a part-time gig. I was lucky enough to have senior leaders that listened to me as I pitched, like, I could do this 50-50. I can be a project architect. And it's like, it really wasn't working. So about 8 or 10 years ago, I'm like, I want to do this full time. How do I move from managing education and training and facilitating our learning organization to a full-time gig? And it's like, well, what does that mean for me professionally? Walking away from projects. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to walk away from projects. I would rather have everybody here at Bergmeyer, we call each other Bergies. All these Bergies are my clients. I'd rather have that as my day-to-day. So it transitioned well. And I have to say, because of that, I've been able to focus my time and strategies and all that on specific things. So again, it's not always me doing it, but I'm helping to make it, facilitate it, but curate it sometimes present and do the whole thing. But other times it's like, how do you have a non-practitioner, meaning someone who is overhead, someone who is part of accounting, admin somehow, to really be that person who is carrying it through all the way. I think that's probably the first part of success. And then surrounding yourself with champions, with like Leah that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the things
you were looking for, like that advice to another firm, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like we're now just under 100 people. We have an office in LA with 7 or 8 people, a couple in Columbus, Ohio, and the rest of us here in Boston. And it's a lot of work. And I really feel for people who have 17 offices and people remote everywhere. And it's like, I don't know how to manage that. I know how to manage Bergmeyer and facilitate a lot of things and do that, but it's really hard to scale. So I think getting advice, I would say, work with somebody like Full Sail early on, ask their experience of what they've seen at other firms similar to Bergmeyer. What have you seen? Like, where has it gone wrong? Let's not make those mistakes. So I think it's, again, don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really have emphasized a lot on the people side and how it is that you supported people. I know you guys coined something specific in this process. And
Yeah.
so maybe you can talk a little bit more about that on how you did support the staff throughout this change.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's our 50th year. We went through this past summer and we're still in the middle of it. Let's just not say it's done.
Yeah.
So we are working on the resource planning side. We're really still trying to build. And I think our next step, which was supposed to be for this summer, was to go into the BI side, a business intelligence tool that would help us analyze all this data. Not just like, okay, here's another report, here's a dashboard, here's what we're looking at, but how do we now grow into like, well, here are cool visualizations of analyzing all this, which again, I don't know much about it, but I'm learning, and we have people internally that have more passion for this, and we're pulling them in to help out. So this year at Project Con, we're pulling one of our more junior accounting finance team members who went to school as a data analysis, analytics. Yeah. So Zach is coming with me, and hopefully that will kickstart that. So this year we planned, it took about a year to plan it. We had something called Bergapalooza. Yeah. So Bergapalooza, being our 50th anniversary, took way more planning. It was 3 days of flying in everybody from wherever they are and planning out a complete, like, here's breakfast, here's our company photo, here's lunch every day, here's after parties, where there's 7 different restaurants that 10 people are going to each one, and this is how it's, or 10 restaurants, 10 people at each one. Through there, we worked with a couple external consultants, like an executive coach, a person who does our leadership development program, and we put together a lot of soft skills things going on. We had an improv asylum, shout out to them here in Boston in the North End. They came in and like blew our minds about, hey, how can yes but become a yes and? So we did all these like cool breakout sessions, and we all got embarrassed, and not too bad. I shouldn't say we got embarrassed, but we all stepped into the spotlight to be part of that. But during this, we had one session that myself and Jen Sheminsky, who is one of our board members, sits on our board officers. She is a registered architect. She's been here since she graduated from college down in New Orleans. So she is leading our practice committee. So I teamed up with Jen to take a second phase of something we had started a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, through a task force. It's going to feel like a long story, but I'll make it really quick. Our shareholders got together, 28 of us. We have a shareholders meeting in December at the time, maybe 30, and it's all here at Bergmeyer in Boston. And what could we do better? What should be a new task for us or analysis we should do? And a few of us like raised our hands, and one person said, standardization. How do we become better at doing what we already do? So to do that, a couple people, 4 of us got together and created this task force and did focus groups, looked for pain points, charted those, graphed those in priority. Like what is the biggest, like in a 2x2, we figured out like what would take the most to do, but is a higher priority. Like, okay, well, that's one corner. So what would be really easy to do and is also a high priority, let's get in there. So we really figured that all out. This past May, when we had Bergapalooza, we had something else called Spark Tank. So our Spark Tank, so we had 5 or 6 different rooms. In each room, there was a different part of what we do. Like we had an IT room, digital tools. We had an HR room. We had a finance accounting room, and then we had like a practice room broken off into 2. And we had groups go around, and not follow me here. We had groups by their level. So we had more junior people, let's call them job captains. And then we had senior job captains, and then we had project managers, and then we had senior leaders, and we let them stay in their groups, and they would have 15, 20 minutes in each room, and they would share all their pain points and graph them on where it stood under what part of our hubs and vantage point.
Oh, wow.
I know. So we really put this together. It's crazy how it all came together. And the first tank that everybody went to, people were like, I have no idea what I'm doing. What are we supposed to do? And there were people facilitating, and they were like, I'm not sure. They just figured this out. Yeah. So it took a tank or two to figure out what was happening. But the data we collected during that is mind blowing. So it took our pain points to another level where we could organize those into these very thick columns.
Yeah.
So we took it into project closeout. How does that happen? What has to happen with HR, finance? Run it through all those different filters and see how it works. So from there, we were like editing and adding new fields. We built a project kickoff closeout. We didn't build it, but we edited our current process to now be fully in Vantage Point. So during a project kickoff, the PM or whoever's in charge would put all that information in the specific tab under the project's hub. And we added one for B Corp. If you don't know what a benefits corp is, we are super excited because last September we became one. So we're just about a year into it. So please find me another architecture design firm that's a B Corp, and that would be amazing because we're just like, again, we're trying to push it. And what a B Corp is, in a small little definition, is we care more about our work. We care about the community around us. We care about our people, and we try to build that in a positive way. So we have been. And now we have a certificate saying that we do that. So we for the B Corp tab, we have to collect a lot of project information. And we created a tab that just has all that in there. And part of it is very engineering-like a lighting power density, expected energy usage, and watershed stuff. But then there was also where is this project? Is it a low-income, mid-income, high-income neighborhood? And there's a bunch of other things in there too. So we're collecting all that information using Vantage Point, and it's not out of hand. It's actually people are like, oh, man, this is really well organized. This is so easy now. And again, the list view, the filters. Yeah. So
yeah.
That was a lot too.
Yeah. Well, I love this idea of Bergapalooza for one. And it was really not just a way to be able to get information or the listening to people, but it was also the process that you went through to identify the pain points, and then also how it is that you're going to utilize that information as well. Correct?
Yeah. And Sarah, you hit on something that's probably the most difficult part. Doing surveys and focus groups and collecting information and pain points is so easy. People love to bitch. It's like, okay, when you get them in a room that they feel comfortable with, it's awesome. And then, but collecting it is easy. Yep. It's like, how do you act on it?
Yes.
So this is where it's in our amazing CEO, Rachel Zembry. She's been a president for the last bunch of years, and now with our C-suite growing, our CEO, she has her goal, and she is an amazing COO, but she's playing both parts because she can. Working with her to really take this pain point list, it goes into Excel. It doesn't even make sense, but now we're aligning it with our strategic goals, and we're trying to see how, with our strategic goals, does it make more sense? So we're reorganizing those and figuring out who can do this when. So that's part of my job right now, and I'm not doing a good job of it in the last couple of months. I need to get back on track. But what we looked at and we were very comfortable with is when we looked at, say, 100% of these pain points, we've already taken care of 20 to 25% of them just with our project kickoff, closeout, improvement with that B Corp, making our intranet easier with an AI search tool that Knowledge Architecture helped to develop, with a large language model. So we're stepping into that AI world in very productive ways. It's we have all this knowledge shared and captured, but how do you access it quickly without saying, hey, Sarah, what is the square root of? No, it's well, how can I find the latest information on this particular code in Fairfax County, Virginia? It's oh my gosh, how do you find that? But how do you find the permit expediter that we worked on in the last project? So pulling from Vantage Point onto our intranet, onto Synthesis, which we call 411. So I don't know if we have to explain what 411 means to a lot of people that might not have had a phone and called to see what time the movies were.
Information, please.
Yeah, information, please. So 411 is the name of our intranet, and how that all pulls. So we can look at employee data, We can look at project data, it's getting there. We can look at all of the information within, and it's pulling. So it's an easier interface and vantage point for most to quickly search. And that's what we're working with. We're also working with another tool, Open Asset, which is a digital asset manager that we're putting our proposals and resumes through, so we can, from Vantage Point to Open Asset, from Vantage Point to our intranet, and it's gelling. It's coming together. I think we have one more part of that is missing, which will be in beta in December, is the learning management system side of it. So knowledge architecture, Chris Parsons and his team have built the third leg of this stool, meaning here's all of our content, here's searching it and finding information. Well, here's the LMS side of it. How do we now build and organize and assign and assess and benchmark our internal learning process?
Yeah. I think
I'm glad I ate lunch before this.
There were a couple of things that I want to hit upon that you mentioned. I think one, it's really an amazing perspective to be able to look at individuals that when they're sort of, I'm going to say bitching about something or complaining about something. No, you didn't say bitching, but you said complaining. No, I added the bitching. Sometimes people will view things as that, when in actuality, people are just frustrated. So what I liked about your perspective is that you see those individuals as someone that just wants change, or something's not working for them. So what I was complimenting you on is that you view it as, as a positive, like, hey, I want to hear from you. Yeah. Because if we're not speaking up, or if we're not encouraging that voice, then I'm curious what your thoughts are, because there's two different sides of the coin. There's people that want change, and so they're going to be vocal about it. There's also people that tend to sometimes squash down the voice of others because they don't want the change. So I'm curious, how did you give people a voice, and how did that shift the way they also responded to change?
Okay, well, I want to add one more thing to your synopsis there. Yeah. It's like, don't forget, you have to act on that.
Yes.
Like when you collect information from people, you have to at least let them know you're working on it, that they've been heard. That is so critical, because then they won't even bother sharing anymore. So that's an important part. And I've made that mistake. And sometimes it's like, oh, I think I know what they want, I'm just going to do it. Or it's no, but you have to keep asking. Yeah. I think I've learned a lot over that process, and people have called me out on it. And again, that goes back to our culture. It's like, let me know, like, how can we do this? So identifying those people, sometimes it's like that architect or designer that is, it doesn't matter if they're introvert or extrovert or whatever. It's like, you need to see through that. So I think somebody in my leadership position, you need to make sure you're not just picking favorites. Because that's happened. It's happened to me. It's like, oh, this person's amazing, I want to just keep asking them. But you're not getting the full pull from your firm or whatever. Yeah. So when I do work with someone who is frustrated to the point where they seem like they're giving up, that's like a walk. That's like a different scenario. But let's put that aside. When I find someone who is just like, the comment comes out, I hate Vantage Point. I mean, it doesn't come out as much as I hate Vision. So it's like, but why? It's like, okay. And when that happens from a senior leader in a meeting with other people around, I just want to like crumple. I'm like, oh my gosh, that just sets us back. So I think you need to be careful of how you approach it, depending on the level of the person in the audience or the room that you're in. You cannot embarrass someone in front of other people, but take note of it and say, put on their calendar. And we live by our Outlook calendars. Hey, so-and-so, I'm not going to name someone. Hey, you said something in a meeting that I am so concerned about, and I want to learn more. And I think that's how it starts. And then that person, you start to build trust, but you start to listen. And then you're like, oh, wow. So I don't know if you know this, but so-and-so over here figured this out. Do you want me to share that with you, or do you want to connect with them?
Yeah.
And I prefer, sometimes I'll just say, hey, why don't you go and talk to this person? They figured out and they would love to show you. But then you have to understand the character of that person. If they are not the type of person that wants to show you or share, that becomes me, or I'll take our digital practice manager or somebody else and say, hey, can you stop by this person's desk and like show them how this is done? Or send a link to them of the video that's on the internet that explains exactly what they're missing. So sometimes it's preparing, sometimes it's just observing. But again, it goes back to that pulse. If you are too pushy or embarrass someone, and I think we've all done this, like called someone out in the wrong situation, it's just like, you just blew it. There's no way they are going to do anything again for you at all. So you have to just fire them. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, shit.
I'm kidding. No, but it's like that's where you have to rebuild that trust, and it takes a while. But I think when you take that frustration that someone else is having, you need to let them know in a very empathetic way that, yes, I've seen this before. I've lived through this, or we found a solution. So maybe there's different ways to approach it, but let them know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Be realistic about how it's going to get fixed. You can be like, yes, you know what? We've been here. We can't fix this. We have to find a workaround.
Yeah.
And right. Or be realistic and say, hey, we can't get to that right now, but when do you have time in 2 weeks? I see on your calendar, I would really like to sit down and walk through this with you. And then let's come back to it. So I don't know. It's all about like timing and reading the room and pulse and all that.
I love all of that.
There's no right way that works all the time.
Yeah. Well, I want to sort of wrap things up. And the thing that I think is helpful is to also understand, how do you keep the momentum going? So what does continuous improvement look like in real life at Bergmeyer, and the things that you guys are now focused on?
Well, it's impossible to be up and energized and positive every day. My bike to work and bike home helps me so much. Like, clear my mind, think of different things. I mean, staying up on podcasts, really starting to reach outside of your firm is so important. Hey, this is working for a similar firm our size that we respect how they work. Let's learn from them. And there's these different environments that you can share, and maybe it's on Vegas rules or whatever, it stays in this room. But if you can find those counterparts to your position in other firms, oh my gosh, I would not be even close to successful at what I'm doing without that outside peer relationship.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's like the bigger part. Keep learning yourself. Don't become stagnant. So for me, I'm lifelong learner. I mean, why are we in here? Process improvement, everything needs to be better the next time. How do you keep evolving? I think that gets tiring if people just keep hearing that over and over again. So I think you need to show them, and then you need to celebrate. But back to that original part, if you're not acting on, or at least communicating when we can solve some of this, people are going to stop like bringing up their pain points.
Yeah.
And it's not working. And, one last part that we try to reinforce too, it's like and this is from like your first day at Bergmeyer to like, we're going through our goal setting and reviews. If you identify something small that seems like an issue or a mistake early on, it's so much easier to solve. And we want to celebrate that too and not blame. If you let that go and it becomes something really big, it's so difficult to solve. And that usually isolates people, and they try to solve it on their own. And when you start going down that road, it's not going to work. So we really try to improve that cultural side of it. Please speak up. Please share what's going on. You're not doing it alone. So I think reinforcing that over and over again helps. And it has to come from everyone. I mean, it's not ideal here. I mean, we do have a team or two that it's just like, it's hard because the pressure, and it's a lot of stress, what we're doing. And sometimes it's so easy to blame, but that doesn't work either. And we know that. And that leads to people leaving or whatever, worse. So I think on a high note, if you can build that culture on a positive note, you can build that culture that allows people to embrace mistakes, understanding that they grow from that. And by sharing those lessons learned, we all become stronger and better at what we do. So I think that's pretty close to, yeah.
That's an amazing ending. Katrina here said, this has been so inspiring. Thank you, Sarah and Bill, for sharing. And so, Bill, I just really want to thank you for sharing so openly. Your approach is such a refreshing mix of just strategy, people first thinking, and as well as just practicality. And so I really just want to thank you for joining us. For me, one of the things that I think is always the hardest is the people side of the house. And it sounds like you guys are doing a great job of adding the emotional intelligence, the empathy, and the things that are encouraging improvement. And that's the only way that we're going to learn. We can't do anything perfect the first time. It's just continuing to say, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else, but being open about that.
Agreed. And I do want to mention too, and I appreciate those who are still here. I'm on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. Message me. I'm not really good at the LinkedIn Messenger and answering that all the time. But please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about some of the topics that we discussed or things that aren't working.
I love that. And if for whatever reason you can't find Bill, reach out to us. We'll connect you with him. And so I just want to, for those that are watching, whether you're mid-implementation or just starting to think about change, take a page from Bergmeyer's book. So empower your people, take it one phase at a time, and don't underestimate the value of good education and those feedback loops. And so if you are wanting
Sarah, don't forget to celebrate.
Oh, absolutely. And the milestones and celebrate. You're right. And so if you are wanting to learn more about how Full Sail Partners can support your firm's CRM or ERP transition, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help. And again, thank you, Bill, and thank you everyone who has tuned in. It has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate you sharing everything with individuals that are possibly going through the same thing.
And Sarah, I totally appreciate this process. I'm at heart, I'm an introvert, but when I'm in a comfortable situation like this, I feel very much an extrovert. And thank you for you and your team for making this all happen. It's been the best part of my day so far.
I love it. I love it. Well, we enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you at ProjectCon maybe this year.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm already signed up.
Awesome.
And so is Zach at our firm. So we'll see you in November if I don't see you before then.
Yes, perfect. And just some further kudos. Darren said, well done.
Oh, hey, Darren, what's up?
Ken. Yes. And so you're just getting, great job. Thank you for sharing so much great information. Appreciate hosting. You're welcome. And so again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it.
All right. Everybody have a great rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you at a future event.